during the 90s, we did some Formula One, like Cannondale, GT, everybody did some kind of Formula One. And now it becomes more and more marketing Formula One. For me, bike industry is far too much on the marketing and the brands and for me, I would be really happy to see a company doing his own bike, on suspension, put everything to succeed and to make the best bike ever. There is a bigger knowledge now than before, for sure, but it's for sure it's difficult for somebody, a rider or a team, to understand that if you want to win, you have to do everything by yourself and to do it right. And, now it's more the time to have a team manager which can set up correct, which can do a correct setup for with a truck and tent and decals and then you have a rider, a combination with a rider and his own mechanic. But that doesn't make something really technical and very accurate to catch the best performance possible. And you know, you never see on the other sports when we say that your Formula One is not is done completely by engineer. It's a complete combination. WRC car is a complete combination. They design everything, every single details, and they have to know everything on the full car. And it's difficult to say that the performance is at the highest level possible on mountain bike just because they a brand supply a frame, another brand supply wheel and suspension. But when you go really deep on the technology, it has to be something different. That one was really good, really good. This is the result of all our experience in the Sunn story. Every year the chassis was different, and again the target was not. The question was not how many bikes we can sell. Which one will be the best looking for the sales, and how many frames we can do. Every year during the winter is, okay, first question is, where is the World Championship? How is the track? So the track is a pedaling track, is a deep track, is a soft track, is really aggressive, stones. And we every year we design the frame for the World Championship track. And after that we were for sure we were on different track for the World Cup, but the frame was done for the World Championship. And that one was for Are in Sweden, and not a so aggressive track, not but that bike is the full evolution of what we had discovered in Sunn. With we did the hub, we did the linkage, frame, fork, shock. Shock, for example, you do a shock with all the technology. You can, you put everything inside, and in fact, with that, in our world now, it's you have the standard size of the shock, and you can't do what you want. So that bike is for me an achievement on the technology for the Sunn area, and a starting point for the V-Process bikes we did here in Boss for Nico. Complete bike, complete racer. Yeah, I'm the fastest rider in the world during that time so far, and his accuracy to set up a bike and to explain the feeling he has had on the bike and the job we did on the technical side, for sure, it was a big good combination. Each track, each races, every run was an improvement. He was able to feel spoke tension, for sure pressure tires, but spoke tension, the stiffness of the chassis, the fatigue of the chassis, every single detail on suspension. For me, he's so far the best rider I never worked with. Yeah, he's almost like a computer. Yeah, the only target I have had from Max Commensal is to win. Was to win. So in fact, with that target, everything was possible. We just did the job just to think about all the single details, to improve all the new technology we must try, and all the yeah, for sure it was a great moment, great period for for the technology, because mountain bike at the early 90s was so poor on technology, and everything has to be down, and so very quickly we went on a good hydraulic suspension, disc brakes, big hubs, big axle, tires, rims, wheels. We did some job on the spokes also. It was on the material, steel frame, aluminum frame. We did some carbon also, and the budget was huge, so everything was possible, and we had tried so much things. Like we did some, I think I was the first, or maybe one of the first, to put data acquisition on bikes. But for sure, to have on race bike, it was difficult for me to see a race, because yeah, the last race for sure I was on the track, but for the rest I spent all my time on the computer and dyno and data acquisition, and just to see simulation, and just to see how to make a better bike, and we had discovered so much things with all the studies, and so it was completely open for the technology, and when we see the bikes technology at the end of the 90s compared to where they are right now, for sure everything had been improved on details, but nothing massively. Yeah, I don't know if you check about the results during the Sunn period. We have had quite a lot of riders, talented riders, but as soon as they left the team, they disappear a bit, almost on the ranking. So and Sunn stays on the top, on the top every time. But whatever the rider, Sunn was there. For sure, in terms of complexity, I can say that it's never less complex than the other sports, and I can say that. But on mountain bike, I was involved on all the bike, and on the WRC, I'm much more involved on the suspension, a bit the chassis also. On motocross, motocross is a bit in between, but as I say, with the level I can achieve, mountain bike is really complex. This is the target. Yeah, this is the target. Clearly, this is the target. But the main problem now is that we can see now, because we are looking for a top rider. Now, I can say whatever the cost, we are looking for a top rider with the fork. They can't understand. It's a new generation. They can't understand this. And I start to speak a bit about the frame. I can say 80% sure that the gap and the improvement on the performance will be big, and but it's difficult to get any single rider just to pay attention to what I have to say. But riders are really, really talented now.
Yeah.
The level is so high.
I think
But the bikes, it's strange because Gwyn did well with Specialized. They're still doing well with YT. What's the difference? Nothing.
Yeah, there's probably £5,000.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the main difference.
Yeah,
but for the performance, the final consumer price is just marketing. For the performance, it's nothing to see with the performance. And the performance, where there is, when the price has an effect on the performance, it's when you go really deep on each detail. That is something. But we can say that except the market, all of them have cheaper, really cheap bikes. Really cheap bike, because the price of a Specialized frame almost the same as a YT frame.
Yeah,
pretty much the same. Yeah. So small details, but almost the same. But what we did with Sunn, price of a race bike, a works bike, price was huge.
You had lots of money.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.